Okay, I knew I've been engaging in risk-taking behavior with this kind of free-form program, but this next part of the program is really important, and I've been looking forward to it. I'd like you to welcome to the podium right now Erwin Traeger, who's going to introduce our main program for the day, something that's going to set our program agenda on course for the rest of the year. Thank you, Erwin.
Thank you, President Bill. I'm delighted to have been asked to introduce one of my favorite people, Phyllis Campbell. I take a special and personal pride in her achievements as President and CEO of the Seattle Foundation, having served as chair of the search committee 3 years ago that brought her to the foundation. Phyllis brings to the foundation a unique blend of successful experience in the world of business and finance as CEO of U.S. Bank, and in the world of philanthropy and nonprofits as a volunteer leader, having chaired boards of United Way, the Chamber of Commerce, and other leading organizations in our community. She also brings a tremendous sense of compassion and caring. Over the years, she has received a number of awards recognizing her contributions, and several of them are listed in the handout that you have at the tables, and I won't, in the interest of time, read them all off. But she has shown herself to be an extraordinary administrator, an outstanding and articulate spokesperson for the foundation and for philanthropy in the region in general, and a great leader by example. The Seattle Foundation, in my view, is the central address for philanthropy in our region. It helps individuals and families give effectively by providing them with administrative support, community insight, and good counsel to achieve their goals. Using the foundation, much like a private foundation, donors support the organizations and issues that matter the most to them with the help of the foundation's staff and resources. Last year, the foundation's grants reached $46 million. This year, the foundation is celebrating 2 milestones: its 60th anniversary and reaching the $500 million level in assets. To note its 60th anniversary, the foundation has produced a short video that highlights our community's collective philanthropic achievements since 1946, the year the foundation was founded. Before Phyllis takes the podium, we want to show this video, as many of you have been integral to achieving these remarkable accomplishments. Fellow Rotarians, I present to you first our 60th anniversary video, and then our incredible CEO, Phyllis Campbell.
We stand on the shoulders of those who came before. We grow up giving, just as our giving helps us to grow up. Nowhere is this more true than in the still young city of Seattle and its even younger suburban neighbors.
All of us, if we do anything, are standing on the shoulders of somebody who somewhere made a contribution.
In the 6 decades since the Seattle Foundation was created, we have grown from a town shaped by Klondike individualism, where giving if it happened, was certainly not talked about, to a city known for its thriving philanthropic community, where individual donors work side by side with large foundations.
Seattle in 1947 was a small, big town, in my estimation. There were still a couple of wooden sidewalks, which amazed me. You didn't talk about money, it was a private thing.
But that was beginning to change. Young families were pouring into the region, and their needs fueled the building of the University of Washington Medical School. The move of Children's Hospital from borrowed beds into its own new building, the growth of Woodland Park Zoo and arts organizations, and the founding of Overlake Hospital to serve the growing East Side suburbs, and much more. These ambitious projects set the stage for Seattle's future as a center for cultural and medical research, and as a place where philanthropy would play an ever more vital role in civic life.
Community building is an ongoing effort. I mean, it's multifaceted. There's all kinds of things that are part of it, from the arts to the human services, etc.
Zoom to the moon! Right to a star! Pack up your troubles wherever you are! See you in Seattle.
Seattle and King County were growing up fast, becoming more diverse and cosmopolitan every day. The excitement peaked in 1961 as the region prepared for the 1962 World's Fair, which meant new freeways, a new icon called the Space Needle, and national attention, including that of a young preacher.
We brought Dr. King to Seattle in 1961, and that startled many people.
In 1961, Reverend Samuel McKinney had only been in Seattle a few years. He credits King's visit with inspiring Seattle's African-American community to found their own credit unions, enabling them to buy homes and fund churches, preschools, and senior housing. Job training programs also began to spring up.
If you can have your economic freedom, as Dr. King says, if you stand erect, nobody can ride your back.
In the 60s and early 70s, thousands of people also came together to clean up Lake Washington.
We had a problem, and we united around the problem. It was like, $50 here and 10 or 15 there, and a total of less than $5,000. And it succeeded beyond anybody's wildest dreams.
Sometimes it was the worst of times that brought us together.
By 1969, Boeing's employment quit growing and dropped a little. 70 and 71 it plummeted and went down to as low as 37,500. So it changed the whole context for the community. And bad things permit good things to happen.
With the surge of economic development in the 80s and 90s, a whole new crop of philanthropists appeared that didn't know the old family philanthropists very well.
It's just a new generation of people that think about giving in a new way, that they really want to invest more than just their dollars, but time, money, and expertise, and really make an impact, make a difference in the community.
Because of the technology boom, I was able to leave the industry and go out and do what my passion is, which is working with kids of color.
I remember the day before Bill and Melinda's wedding, and Mary Gates stood up, and that was the moment in which she read this letter in which she reminded Bill and Melinda that to whom much is given, much is expected.
Being a philanthropist is really a personal definition. But if you give something to somebody, you are a philanthropist.
There will be people who will have had their lives changed that you have never known about or never ever meet. And it's those people that you have to think about when you're planning for the long pull.
Where you've opened doors that were not open before, where you've helped people stand on their feet.
We stand on the shoulders of those who came before by giving all that we can. with the goal of opening doors, growing a place that we love, helping people stand on their feet so that we will all be ready to stand strong through the next boom and the next bust, so that we will all be ready someday to be the strong shoulders that support the next generation, and the next, and the next.
Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed that video as much as we did putting this together. And as I think about, I saw the slide on Bill and Melinda Gates. We've had Warren Buffett on our minds recently for a lot of good reasons, and I was reminded of a quote that Warren said as I think about speaking to this group today, when he said, "It's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction." So I just want to say it's truly great to be hanging out today with this august group of civic-minded leaders. So thank you for all you've done. And as Irwin said, this video really is a credit to so many of you out here in this audience today. Well, we really want to share with you today the accomplishments, really, of activism and philanthropy that you've seen in this video. And so the theme of my comments today to you is really to amplify on philanthropy, which I'd like to really talk about three concepts: innovation, investment, and interconnectedness, the three I's of philanthropy. Well, I think we all know that philanthropy, certainly in our community, is powerful because it is a unique opportunity for innovation, as we've seen in this video and as we know so many other examples. And it really allows us, in many senses, to see a problem or a need and find a solution in a way that's not always possible in business or government. And then the investment piece. It really is about investment, isn't it? Of our time, of our certainly intellectual capital, and it really is about investment for the long term. And I think the last I, interconnectedness, I'll talk about in a few minutes, but I think the basic concept here is no problem or solution stands alone. So I'm going to get back to these concepts in a minute. But I guess I would say that it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. In hindsight, as we look at this video, it's often difficult as we stand here today to think about the opportunities and see the moments where philanthropy can truly make a difference in our own time today. And I think, we can all agree we live in very complex times with global issues and lots of overwhelming priorities, really, in a sense, to sift through in order to make educated decisions about giving to make that kind of a difference that we know has brought us to today. So one of the things that really struck me, speaking of Warren Buffett again, about the recent Buffett gift as we think about philanthropy, is that he really made a great statement when he made the contribution to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And what he said was, and I think we've all read about it now, is that they've done a great job of sifting through all those priorities, all the information. They've set their goals in motion with targeted priorities. But moreover, they've really, in a sense, made those targeted investments and will measure the results. And he trusts them to make those decisions for him. And that's a very powerful statement because he knows that through working with them and through them, it will make a lasting difference in the world. So I guess it also goes without saying that even though we don't have the same level of resources, I think we do share one thing in common, that we all share a fierce determination to improve our communities and our world. And we believe really on a fundamental level, and I know certainly as Rotarians you do as well, that we believe we can make this difference in our community, and we take our philanthropy seriously. So I think the key question as we sit here today and think about the many, many challenges and opportunities in our community is, how do we tackle the issues of today? And I think we'd all say that all of us really want to know how we recognize effective programs, promising new work, or really in a sense, how can our charitable gifts make a difference? And our donors at the Seattle Foundation have continually asked us for that same information. So in a sense, we produced, in response to these many questions, our first ever report called A Healthy Community, What You Need to Know to Give Strategically. And this copy was just released. So If you're interested in the report, you certainly can give me a card afterwards, but if not, we also have on our website the report that you can download. By the way, I would like to thank Bob Watt and Boeing. Boeing produced this wonderful report for us. But I think one of the things that I would certainly say is that, as Irwin already said so well, is the area's community foundation. The Seattle Foundation has long been dedicated to giving donors tools and information and support they need to really give thoughtfully and effectively. And so today we do work with hundreds of families, many included in this room, to address our community's needs and really, in a sense, improve the long-term health of our community. So several years ago, we set out to really, in a sense, expand philanthropy even more by supporting our donors in even a bigger way. And so by leveraging all of that 60 years of grant-making experience, as well as our invaluable relationships with many of our wonderful nonprofits, we really decided that we could take this information and combine the hard data with compassionate ideals. So in a sense, we distilled all of this information into this Healthy Community Report. And I wanted to just point out the handout you have on your table, because I think this really does show. I'm not going to spend time today talking about the 7 elements of the healthy community, but it is on your table. And it does have a copy of or a note on our website. But what we basically said was we wanted to examine our community's health in terms of these 7 elements. And we collected and synthesized quantitative and qualitative information that really gives donors an opportunity to take a look at how can we make smart philanthropic investments. And so what you'll see in the report when you do get a chance to read it is you'll see strategies for long-term improvements that are suggested in our community, because we do highlight effective programs, critical needs, and opportunities for improvement. And we're making this report available to anyone who would find it useful. So let me get back to the 3 I's, because I think one of the questions that we get often is, so as an individual philanthropist, no matter how I choose to give, what are some things that I need to keep in mind as I think about my own philanthropy? So those are the 3 I's, and let me just amplify on each one. The first I is innovation. As I said, philanthropy is innovative because quite often, as many of us know, philanthropy can do things that other entities maybe cannot. And perhaps it's a new idea, perhaps it's a unique partnership, but sometimes it's just a fresh approach to a time-tested strategy. And I just wanted to give you one example of a nonprofit that is highlighted in our report called New Futures. And this is a good example of what I'm talking about. They support South King County children and families in low-income apartment complexes. So rather than going out and hiring professionals to come in and help these families, they actually decided to try a different approach. They hire people in the building itself. And so what they do is they really rely on the cultural understanding that the families, extended families, and neighbors and friends can provide. And really, in a sense, this is a great example because their work it relies on the inherent strengths of community, skills, and trust. And there's so many examples, and I won't go into them, that are highlighted in our report of organizations like this that really do look at innovative approaches to solving problems in our community. So that's the first I. The second I is investment. Well, I think many of us, and Warren Buffett is certainly no exception, think about philanthropy as an investment. And I really think about investment in terms of not just money, but time, energy, certainly intellectual capital. And so I think what we say to donors, if you look at the second I, investment, is it may take years to realize the fruits of our investments, especially in philanthropy, in some cases 60 years or more. But I would really say that we at the Seattle Foundation feel very strongly that the Healthy Community Report will provide maybe a framework for thinking about an investment framework for philanthropy. So we really hope that you get a chance to look at the report, to think about the report, and we plan to re-benchmark the data every several years to see how we're doing as a community as we look at our opportunities and our challenges ahead. But I wanted to just give you one last thought about maybe an example of investment that might, and I think the Rotary Club actually considered them as a candidate for your grant. The Cascade Land Conservancy has a conservation investment fund, which is a good example, again, of investment, where they buy land from, really in a sense, developers, critical green space that's preserved by using invested capital from donors. And they give a very modest return. But in a sense, what it is a great unique investment strategy that also is innovative, that really looks to the future of our community and again, critical, certainly, environmental preservation. So we have innovation and we have investment. Well, the third I, interconnectedness, is probably the one that is closest to our hearts at the Seattle Foundation. And I think, as I said before, we developed this report, and the more we got into it, the more we realized that no issue stands alone, that no single strategy stands alone. Homelessness, as Ruth Ann said so well, is linked to so many other issues of economy and transportation, healthcare, education, and so on. So I think one of the things that we really wanted to illustrate by this framework that you have at your place is that all of the elements of our healthy community are really interconnected. And it's really important, I think, from a philanthropist's point of view, is to think about that interconnected piece and think about where we start, because it should be our passions and our hearts that we start with, but how can we move our philanthropy around to make it effective in that interconnected framework? So I really want to say that since we had a wonderful presentation by Ruth Ann Howell, and we think about the interconnected piece, the Rotary Support Center for Families is a terrific example of that interconnected framework. And I think, as Ruth Ann said so well earlier, I just really want to commend all of you for seeing that interconnectedness by supporting this wonderful program, because in a sense, as she talked about self-sufficiency and certainly resilience and a lot of other concepts that really help get families back on their feet, it really is a terrific example of what we're talking about here in an interconnected framework. So that generosity is certainly a very wise investment on the part of Rotarians. Well, in summary, what would I have you remember from today? Well, first of all, I do encourage you to take a look at our website. I think you will find this report to be compelling and interesting, and in a sense, as you think about your giving, whether it's through a private foundation or through writing checks or through the Seattle Foundation, keep in mind the 3 I's, because I think that today, as we think about philanthropy, it really is about innovation. Again, maybe new approaches to time-tested strategies, but it is definitely about investment, and it is moreover about interconnectedness. So if you think about, for example, a food bank, it's just asking ourselves the simple question of, how can we think about getting the food bank clients on their feet? Why are they standing in line at the food bank? Do they need health care, education, transportation? What are the other issues that are causing folks to stand in line at the food bank? And that's not to say we shouldn't support that wonderful cause, but I think asking that second set of questions is really what we're talking about. And ask those questions of the nonprofits that you support as well. And again, we know that Family Services does a terrific job and that is part of their core mission. I think asking and challenging all of our wonderful nonprofits to think even more broadly and more creatively about that interconnected piece is really what we're talking about here. Above all, I'm really here to continue to encourage you and exhort you to generously invest your time, your talent, and dollar resources to really help improve, continue to improve the lives of our neighbors and in general the quality of life of our community. As we saw in the video, we have inherited very broad shoulders to stand on, built from that generous and visionary group of people that were generous in their own time. Well, we inherit a wonderful place that we call home, and by working together, we can help our community thrive and become even greater. So my hope is that if we were given the ability to peer out in the future, 60 years from now, that we will take great satisfaction that due to our efforts, we have a thriving, healthy community in all its aspects. And for my money, that's something worth working for today. Thank you very much.
I want to hold this up. Okay, it's 1:30. We're in trouble. This is it. Get it on the website. Phyllis has agreed to stay after to answer questions. I apologize. See, Bill French is making a run for the door. Wave your hand, Bill. I'm going to mention your name, but everybody, he's a visual aid. He's the guy dressed in white, Admiral Bill French. he arranged, the Chief of Naval Operations, the top guy in the whole U.S. Navy, is going to come talk to us on August 2nd at Seafair. And he's bringing the Blue Angels with him. So you will not want to miss that program, August 2nd. Nice job, Bill. Thanks. So Phyllis promised to stick around. And, you know, my mom always told me, experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted. I got some experience here today. Learn as you go. Thanks for sticking with me here for a couple minutes, because there's a couple other things you need to know. In addition to that Seafair program 2 weeks from now, next week we're going to have the Honorable Taro Kono, member of the Japanese Diet, to give us a window on international perception of the U.S. Kono-san is one of the young mavericks in the LDP and very much in the model of the current Prime Minister. It's been speculated that he could someday be Prime Minister himself, so I know that's a program you won't want to miss, and I will do my best to make sure there's time to ask him questions. We're going to have a great short program as well. And if you haven't seen it, the website, you can go there and click on it now and watch the video of last week's program or the week before or any program you missed. I want to thank Dave Endicott, James Wong, Marianne Blisco, lots of other people that put a lot of time and effort into making this happen. And I particularly want to thank our sponsors of this effort, First Choice Health and Enterprise Seattle. Without their generous support, this wouldn't have been possible. Okay. This week's rule. I can't cut that, I'm sorry. Comes to us from my favorite philosopher, Lily Tomlin. Rule number 3, avoid cynicism and sarcasm. No matter how cynical you become, you'll never be able to keep up. See you next week.
Seattle Rotary Online is made possible in part by a grant from First Choice Health, now providing return-to-work services that help get absent employees back to their jobs. Healthy employees produce healthy companies at First Choice Health. And by Enterprise Seattle. For over 35 years, Enterprise Seattle has provided client-based economic development services to businesses throughout King County and its 39 cities. More information on Enterprise Seattle and how they help businesses grow and prosper can be found at www.enterpriseseattle.org.